I've I've set out to teach and to share knowledge, and I've come to realize that a big part of teaching is not just giving people answers or showing people that you have the knowledge, but it is also asking the questions, and not just asking questions to yourselves, but asking questions to those who might know, asking questions to those who definitely do not know, but most importantly, asking questions to people who have a thinking capacity so as to help you navigate all the questions that you ponder and think about in life. And that's a lot of what I've been going through, just wondering, asking questions, finding pathways, finding explanations that lead to more questions, which end up essentially not actually having necessarily a simple answer, but a complex magnitude of possibilities that could have constituted to the reality in which we find ourselves today. If you think about some of the people who have been considered geniuses in the past, a lot of it was them asking questions. If you think about Einstein, no, not Einstein. Yes, Albert Einstein. Yes, it is Einstein. He developed a theory and then later on just went on to try to disprove his own theory. That was him continuously asking questions. As much as he developed a theory and said, okay, these are the solutions, he continued to question it. And in so doing, he then went on to say, no, man, I actually have to disprove this. And that is the beauty of the pursuit of knowledge. And the question that I have today is a bit of a tricky one because there is no, I believe, one answer to how we got to where we are. Of course, history is one and it culminated in what we are today. But then if you think about the propaganda, if you think about that what is recorded may be destroyed. We sit here today thinking that we know what culminated to become what it is today, but may not actually be that. I'm going to stop talking in confusing terms because even I'm getting confused. But essentially, the question that I want to pose is it ever going to be possible going forward into the future for us to ever see each human being as a human being? I guess that is the basis of all of this. Is it going to be possible, ever possible again, or ever possible at all, for us to ever see each other as human beings instead of seeing each other as clients, instead of seeing each other as um, people from whom we can get money, people we can exploit, people whose abilities, resources, mental resources, and creativity we can use for our own personal enrichment? Is it ever going to be possible for us to see each other that way? That we develop solutions, we develop technologies that are not going to be for personal financial gain, but to be for the gain of the collective good, to ensure that the next person and the next person and their descendants and all of posterity continue to live and live a better life, one which was better than what we have lived. Is it ever going to be possible for us to get to that point, especially in the systems that we have created, which put financial hierarchies at the basis of all decisions we make? We grow up in rural areas, some of us, and we managed to get out. We managed to work hard to get higher and higher and to get to wherever we get to. But once we get there, do we still remember where we come from? Do we still go back to the places that have bred us? Do we still go back to say the human beings with whom I have grown up, the human beings with whom I have suffered? I am going to ensure that I help them because I have been blessed with the abilities that I have so that I can then come back and say, okay, guys, here's what I think we can do. Here are the solutions to the problems that we have here. Here is how we can fix some or all of the issues that we have. And of course, as an individual, one cannot probably do that, but as a collective, people can do that. However, the systems that have been created, and of course, there may be a lot of argument as to who created the systems and how they became spread out across the world, are such that human beings have to think about their own personal gains and in so doing exploit other people in order to get there. And again, I ask, is it ever going to be possible for us to create a system, create systems, and even if it's not a global system, it can maybe be an African system or to a smaller scale, a South African system where everyone works together to create and produce and innovate for the greater good of everyone else and not for personal gain. No more patents, no more ownership, no more whatever it is that contributes to this capitalist system. We now, and not to necessarily say that a communist system, because in some way that still, in the larger picture, still looks at production and financial gain. But I'm talking about we seeing each other as human beings. Like I have been blessed with the ability to become very knowledgeable in medicine. So I'm able to help my neighbor say, no, look, well, you need to live this way. You need to stop eating this. You need to stop this behavior. You need to do this. Oh, what are you feeling? Is this what you're feeling? What does it do when I touch here? How do you feel here? Okay, I'm going to help you because I have that knowledge. The same way that if you see an old lady trying to carry her plastic bags from the shops or whatever, carry them home. You go there and you help them because, hey, look, I'm younger. I still have more strength. I can help you carry that. Not that, hey, look, I can actually charge you for me to take that stuff for you to your house. No, you are a human being. I'm a human being. But I have this advantage over you right now. But this advantage would be very useful to you. Can I then just use that as a fellow human being to help you get there? There's so much that I could gain from that old lady, or so much that I probably already have gained from her. And even if I do not personally gain from that person, it is important for us to continue to see, not to continue, but it is important for us to see each other as human beings so that we stop seeing each other as commodities, because that is what the world that we live in today has been created to be. There's been slavery, there's been an extraction of minerals, there's been building of businesses, all of which is beautiful. It's amazing. It's great. It has made us push the boundaries of the limitations or the boundaries of our imaginations and the boundaries of our abilities, of our mental abilities and creative abilities. There's so much that has been created because of the drive that is given to each of us by the hope of winning in this thing called capitalism. But you find that there's so much of the world, there's more than 70% of the world is suffering or is living in substandard conditions. Maybe 70% is a bit of a stretch, but a lot of people in the world are living in substandard conditions. Yet we call ourselves the greatest species to have ever lived in this planet, when most of us, a lot of us, are suffering. A lot of us are hungry. A lot of us, and we know solutions. We go to school. We attend classes, we have the internet, we can learn solutions, but we go back to our rural areas and there's no water and we're waiting for someone else to do it for us. When we have the hands, we have the abilities, each of us collectively have enough money that we can put together and say, let us use this to build this. Of course, now there are these legislation and laws and all these restrictions that do not allow you to do that for your own community. Again, it goes back to a systematic limitation that has been created in order to not allow people to see each other as human beings, but to continue to see themselves as an individual. And that, I think, is a very flawed system and a very flawed way for us to think. And we need to try at the very least, we need to try, especially going into the future. We need to try to say, what system can we then create to ensure that every single human being, at the very least in Africa, at the very least in South Africa, is catered for? We produce food, we produce a lot of food. A lot of food is being exported. How are we exporting so much when people within our own country are not all fed? How do I now buy such expensive stuff, just expensive cars, build massive houses? People aren't housed. People are not sheltered. And of course, there's all the corruption that happens in governments, and people are supposed to be housed, but people are not housed. People are supposed to be fed, but people are not fed. A different argument altogether. We as individuals, we as human beings, should try by all means to ensure that, look, we are all human beings. We are all trying to get ahead. I got certain opportunities to be able to get to the point that I'm at. How am I allowing it? How is this justice for me to allow so many more people around me to not have as much opportunities as I do? We live, especially if we're living in the middle class. We think that people have opportunities, people who are not getting anything are lazy, this and that. But actually, if you go down to the basics and you get to understand what is actually happening, you realize that all of this is systematic, and the limitations that exist, they're not limitations of one's mind. Of course, there are limitations of one's mind, but before we get to the limitation of one's mind, there's so many systematic limitations that exist that have led us to be where we are today. And I pose the question again: are we ever going to get to a point where we're able to break down those limitations, see each other as human beings, and build societies, build systems, build environments, and build cultures that look after each other, that consider one another, that understand the struggles, the limitations that other people, the shortcomings that other people might have, and understand the advantages that we personally have, and use that to try and uplift others so that we can all live in harmony. I bring in this, you bring in that, the next person brings in this, not because that person can get money from it or can get more money from it or can get more value from it, but because all of us need it and all of us have a role to play. And if this is the role that you're playing, you can drive, you be the driver. I can fix the car, I'll be the mechanic. You can wash the car, you be the guy who washes the car. You can do this and this person can do this, and all of us contribute, and all of us benefit, and all of us actually live. Are we ever going to be able to create systems in which all of us as human beings get to live? Thank you so much for watching.